Okay, so continuing on here, it's going to be more of the same. We're going to run into a couple of things that might be a little weird, but it's really going to be the same idea of just factoring it and um, canceling stuff out. So let's see. Might as well just, when you start these, just put parentheses around all this stuff here. So on the first part, it looks like you could probably pull out a 4, or not a 4, maybe a 2. Let's see. So let's see. That first part. There we go. Pull out a 2, and so that'll leave us with 5w minus 4. And then on that bigger trinomial right there, it's probably going to be a 3w and a w. And so I'm basically doing, I'm unfoiling it like we've done on a couple previous ones. So I got to somehow get negative 14, but then the inner and outer have to add up to negative 1. So I'm probably looking at 7 and 2. And believe the minus 7 would go right here, and the plus 2 would go right here. And if you were to FOIL this together, you would see that this would take us back to this guy right here. And like I said, if you need to use the method where you do 3 times negative 14 and you split the middle and all that kind of stuff if you need to. Okay, so let's see what we're left with down here. This is going to be the difference of 2 squares right here, because this is the same thing as 5w squared minus 4 squared. So that's the difference of 2 squares. So we'll be able to factor that. We saw one on the previous page that was kind of similar to that. Obviously, the numbers were a little bit smaller, a little bit easier problem, but the concept's the same. So we're going to have 5w plus 4 and 5w minus 4. Okay, now it's time to start just canceling everything out that you can. So let's see, we've got this 5w minus 4, 5w minus 4. We've got this w plus 2, w plus 2. And so that's going to leave us with the final result of 2 parentheses 3w minus 7 all over 5w plus 4. And there we go. That's our result. And so once again, I would maybe, if I were you, maybe just pause the video for a minute and try a couple of these on your own, and then come back and watch it and see if you did it right. But here we go. I think I've got just 2 more of these, and then we'll look at division quickly, which is very similar. There's just one little extra step, that's all. Okay, so same deal. I'm just going to throw everything inside parentheses. And we're going to start factoring. This one actually doesn't look too bad. So on the first part, it looks like that x minus 5y, there's not really anything I can do about that. And then on the next part, that looks like the difference of 2 squares. So y plus x, y minus x. Okay, so that's the top part. Okay, and so then on bottom, let's see, it looks like I can pull out an x there. So we'll pull out an x, and that'll leave us with an x plus y. So I already see a factor we can cancel out. And then on this second one, I'm going to pull out a 2. Pull out a 2, and that'll leave us with 5y minus x. Okay, so that's interesting. So let's cancel out the obvious one first. So the obvious one is going to be the x plus y and the x plus y. Now the one that might not look so obvious is this right here and this right here, because they aren't identical. Okay, they're not identical, but we looked at this in 6.1 that basically if you have the opposite, like, I've got x minus 5y, and then I got 5y minus x. And I'll show you what you can do here, and I guess I'll do it to this top one right here. What you can do is you can pull out a negative 1. And what that does is it makes that into a negative x plus 5y, right? If you were to pull out a negative 1. Let's see, I still have my y minus x as part of the top. And then on bottom, let's see, I'm left with, I've got an x and a 2. I'm going to go ahead and just bring that together as a 2x. And then I still have that 5y minus x. Now they are identical. Yeah, they're in different order. Like, the minus x is back here, and this one has negative x in the front, plus 5y, and the positive 5y is in the front. But these are identical, and so they can cancel out. And so you're just left with that negative on top, that -1, or you could just write negative, and we'll have y minus x, and then all over just the 2x. And you could, when you get to this point, there's a couple of different ways you can approach it. And so your answer might actually look different if you did it a different way. Like sometimes the negative might actually end up in the denominator's place, which is fine. I mean, it won't make a difference. The answer is still correct. So just kind of be aware that there are a couple different variations on how you could have approached it at that point. But going back to 6.1, what I basically told you that, so I'll write this formula over here. Basically, if you have a minus b over b minus a, basically that's always just going to equal -1, okay? And so what you can do is whenever you notice that, if you just want to cancel them out and then just throw a -1 in the front or whatever, like, put that, cancel them out and throw that in front to where you don't even have to factor out a -1, that's fine. If you're not comfortable with that, then that's fine too. Just go ahead and do the process. All right, so we got one left here. Let's see, 19, I think that's the last one, yeah. Okay, so I think this one might have something similar to what we just saw in the last one. So let's see, let's go ahead and start factoring this. So let's see. So on the first part, we can pull out a 3, so that's going to leave us with an x minus 5. And then let's see, what else can we pull out here? We'll pull out a 10x. So we'll pull out 10x. And that's going to leave us with, that's interesting, okay, a 1 minus 2x, that looks like to me. Okay. And on bottom, let's see, we can pull out a 2x. And that's going to leave us with a 2x minus 1. And then we also have this 5 minus x. Okay, so this actually has that property that we just got done talking about here. It's got it twice. It's got it appearing twice. And so let me show you all the shortcut, because I haven't really gone all in on the shortcut, but I'll show it to you now. So if you recognize that you have basically, and it has to be subtraction. If it's addition, then they're exactly the same, and you just cancel them out. But anyways, so right here you've got 2x minus 1 and then 1 minus 2x. So it falls into that property that I wrote down right here. Okay, so right there, what I wrote down. So basically, I'll cancel these out, and I'm just going to put in equals, and I'm just going to put a -1 right there for that first cancellation. Well, you actually can do it a second time with the x minus 5 and the 5 minus x. That falls into the same category, so we can cancel those out. And so guess what? I get another times -1. And so basically that the negatives are going to cancel each other out. But let's go ahead and clean this up and see what's left. So I'm left with 3 times 10x. So I'll just go ahead and multiply that together. So let's see, that would give us 30x. I could have kept it separate if I wanted to, because I'm still going to be able to reduce in a second. And then on bottom, I'm just left with this 2x right here. So as I mentioned before, those -1s just turn into a +1, and there's not really, you don't really have to keep it there. They're gone. But then we'll go ahead and reduce this. And actually, the final result is just 15. Because 30 over 2 is 15, and the x's just, they basically just cancel each other out. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue and go to the third page. And the third page is basically exactly the same stuff, except that we're going to add this thing called keep change flip. And so what's going on here is instead of multiplying, we're dividing. But we're still, basically the principle's still the same on how we're going to simplify these problems. It's just going to be a lot of factoring. But basically, there's this thing, a little trick to remember, keep, change, flip. So if you look right here, if you look at this problem, they kept the the first fraction. Then they changed it to multiplication. So we changed division to multiplication, and then you flip the second fraction. And that's basically it. So in order to change this division to multiplication, and it has to be the second one you flip, not the first one. Usually that's a question we'll get is, does it matter which one I flip? And yes, it does matter. So let's see, we've got 3x to the 5th over 2x squared y to the 7th. Now it's going to become multiplication. We're going to put the 6y to the 6 up top, and then we got 4x cubed y on bottom. So you can start canceling out however you want. Just anything on top can cancel out with anything on bottom, basically. That's the only real rule that's involved here. And so let's see. So the 6 can reduce down to a 3, and that 2 to a 1. 2 to a 1 right there. I just divided both of them by 2. So I think that takes care of the numbers. So that's going to leave us on top with a 9, and on bottom that'll leave us with a 4. So now we'll just look at the variables. And you know what we can do is do this in 2 steps. Let's go ahead and, once again, we're having to use a little bit of properties of exponents. If you're a little rusty, that's okay. But whenever you multiply like bases, you add the exponent. So that'll give us x to the 5th. When you multiply the y's, that's going to give us y to the 8th power. And so the x's are just going to completely knock each other out because there's 5 here, 5 here, so those cancel out. And then as far as the y's, you've got 6 of them. Now count 6 of these, so that'll leave 2 of them. So your final answer, you just have a 9 on top, and on bottom you've got a 4y squared on bottom. And that's that. Once again, I mean, maybe the hardest part for you on this was your exponent properties. The rest of the problems are going to look like our previous slide. So let's go ahead and take a look at 24. So 24, this is over 1. It's understood that you could put a 1 underneath it. So we want to do the keep change flip, and I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to go ahead and factor at the same time. So on this first part, I can factor out a t, and so that's going to leave us with the t plus 5 all over, and I'm going to put this in parentheses, the t plus 1. So it changes to multiplication, and so then the 1 goes up top, and the t plus 5 goes on bottom. And so then we go ahead and cancel this with this, and we're actually already done with this first one. So our final result, I'm going to clean up all these straight marks. Our final result is going to be t over t plus 1. And you can just leave it like this if you want, but I typically put a set of parentheses around that just because a lot of times students will start trying to cancel out the t's, and if you remember, it's all or nothing. Like, you have to have a match, and it has to be factored. There has to be multiplication taking place. And so anyways, just gotta be careful. Common mistakes we see. All right, so I think I just have 2 left. All right, so on 26, just a lot of factoring going on, and we might as well take care of some of it while we're doing the process. So let's see, we're going to have a over a minus 10. Change that to multiplication. Now you do have the difference of 2 squares on bottom, so this will become a plus 10, a minus 10. So that's what we got up there. And then on bottom, we can go ahead and we'll start by factoring out an a. There's more that we can do, but we'll take it in steps. So that'll leave us with an a squared plus 6a minus 40. Okay. And then if we want to, we can go ahead and factor this and just put it right underneath it if we want. Try to keep it somewhat organized. So let's see, multiplies to give us negative 40, add up to 6. Let's see, what we're looking at, 10 and 4. So let's see, plus 10 and minus 4. So that's that's what that is right there. So if I want to cross that out. Um, so now it's time to play the canceling game. All right, and so a lot of this stuff is going to cancel out. So let's see, this A cancels with this A plus 10 cancels with this A plus 10, A minus 10 cancels with this A minus 10. Now be careful, the most common mistake students make is they say the answer is A minus 4, but what you got to remember is really when we cancel stuff out, they turn into ones. Okay, they turn into the number 1, and all this stuff is just getting multiplied back together. That's all this is. So really, the final result is 1 over A minus 4. So just be careful, common mistake that we'll see on these. All right, last one from 6.3. Okay, so once again, this one should not be bad at all. This would be a good one just to pause and try it on your own. This one's really straightforward. All right, so let's see, that first one's going to factor into a B minus 3, B minus 3. Second one is going to factor into a B, looks like minus 3 also, and then a B plus 2. Then we got to do, okay, so we kept the first one, factored all that good stuff, change it to multiplication, but now we do need a flip, so the 4 gets to go up. And then we have the difference of 2 squares right here, so B plus 3, B minus 3. And so this is kind of interesting. So we'll start canceling out. So this can cancel with this. And this one can cancel with this guy over here. And so it looks like our final result would be a 4 on top. And then a B plus 2. And then a B plus 3. All right. So that concludes 6.2 notes. And so I'm not sure if the sub today had a chance to go over 6.3 with you guys. I won't be making a video for that. What we'll do is we'll just revisit that in class on Tuesday. So just make sure to get caught up on your homework, and I'll see you Tuesday.